Friends, this video is to help you with one-step equations. So let's start by writing a problem for us. So we are going to do x. We're going to do one of each type of operation. So we're going to do x plus 12 equals 10. So remember, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify my variable. So my variable is x. And I'm going to look at what's happening to my variable. So it's being added to 12. So I want to isolate my x, and I'm going to do the opposite of this to undo it, to leave x by itself. So the opposite of plus 12 is minus 12. Whatever I do to one side, I have to make sure I do to the other because I want to make sure that I'm balancing both sides of my equation. So I'm going to do a minus 12 on both sides. 10 minus 12 leaves me with negative 2. So now I need to make sure that I was right by substituting that answer back in to double check my work. So negative 2, because that's what I got for x, plus 12 equals 10. So now if I follow my in my integer rules, I have signs are different when I'm adding. So I do 12 minus 2, which gives me 10. Okay, if I had a subtraction problem, x take away 7 equals 14. So first I'm going to identify my variable, and I'm going to look at what's happening to it. So I'm taking 7 away. So now I want to do the opposite of that because I want to isolate my x. So the opposite of minus 7 is plus 7. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So these cancel. That leaves me with an isolated x, which is awesome. And then I'm going to...
Super snacks are now available in the comments. Super snacks are now available.
Thank you, Mrs. Enders. Okay, so now I'm gonna do that plus 7 on both sides. This cancels on this side. This 14 plus 7 is 21. Now, before I walk away, I'm gonna substitute that back in and double check my work. So 21 minus 7 is 14. I want you guys to notice the way that I'm showing my work on both of these because this is the expectation for you. Okay, so now let's try a multiplication one. So let's do 8n equals 24. So I'm going to identify my variable. Here's my n, and I'm going to look at what's happening to it. It's being multiplied by 8. So the opposite of multiplying by 8 is dividing by 8, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do that on both sides to maintain equality. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. And I know that if I have a 1 in front of my variable, I can just write the variable. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. 24 divided by 8 is 3. Now I'm going to substitute that 3 back in for n to double check my work. 8 times 3 is 24, and I'm good. Okay, so our last example is going to be a division example. So let's do k divided by 5 equals 15. So I identify my variable. My variable is k, and it's being divided by 5, so I'm going to do the opposite. So out to the side, I'm going to write times 5. Whatever I do to one side, I'm doing to the other side. So k is all that's left over here because I'm divided by 5 and at times 5 cancel each other out. 15 times 5 is 75. Now I'm going to substitute it back in. 75 divided by 5 equals 15. One thing I want to show you guys, you might see this problem written like this. It's still the same problem. So you still do the same thing. So you identify your variable. It's being divided by 5, so we're going to do the opposite. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. This cancels. K equals 75. Then I substitute my 75 back in. And there we go. So if you model your problems after these, you should have no problem with doing this type of stuff. So my expectation is that you show your work in this manner. Thank you so much for following directions, and good luck.